I think it's pretty clear that there's a pretty massive difference between these different varieties. Guten gardening, everybody! Well, the topic of our video today is potatoes, or more specifically, it's seed potatoes. And I think we've got some pretty interesting and important information coming your way in this video. In fact, the topic for today's video is something that I think a lot of people maybe take for granted. And if you're trying to grow potatoes and trying to figure out which potatoes are the best fit for you, this is definitely something you want to take into consideration. Now, in addition to that main topic of this video, there's something else I really want to get out there, and that is something really exciting to us, and that is that we are now an affiliate with Prairie Family Farms. And I'm bringing that up at this video because, well, first and foremost, anyone who follows the link in the description of this video and uses our code Guten, G-U-T-E-N, can get 5% off of their order of organic seed potatoes and all the other things that are for sale from Prairie Family Farms. And hopefully you know by now that we don't ever sit there and say you should try something, you should buy something, unless we've actually had some experience ourselves. And we've had great experience so far with the seed potatoes that we've purchased from Prairie Family Farm. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as well as we get into this video. But the other reason I'm bringing up Prairie Family Farms is I think it's really awesome. On their website and in their catalog, there is a demonstration of exactly the topic for today's video. Now, what do you notice about these four potatoes? If I hold them up really close, if I look really close, well, it doesn't really take my looking really close to see the difference. These four potatoes are at different stages of chitting. One of them is about 6 inches, maybe even 7 inches long. One's at about 4 inches. One's at about 3/4 of an inch, which is actually the size that we would typically get in the ground and planted. And the other one's just started maybe a 1/2 inch. And what you should know is that every single one of these potatoes was harvested within a few days of the other varieties. And so what can you see here? You can see that these potatoes each have their own dormancy period. Now, I should also mention that these potatoes were simply placed in about 65 degrees, a consistent 65 degrees, not any excess lighting or anything like that, but no special preservation conditions to see exactly how long they would stay dormant. And that dormancy period now has lasted for about 4 months, give or take. And you can see again that we're at different stages of development of that chitting process. So why am I going to do that? I mean, I know that if I just leave these potatoes out, they're going to go ahead and start chitting at some point. They're going to lose that dormancy. Now, certainly we can extend the dormancy period to some extent for these potatoes using a root cellar, which we don't have, or one of the methods we worked with last season that was moderately, I guess, successful, was to use sand in a bucket. I think based on what a lot of folks were telling us, we probably needed a bigger container to really to keep that dormancy period going. But what's important to note is that every variety of potato has a different dormancy period. And why is that important? Well, when it comes to picking the right seed potato for you, for your family, your ability to store or preserve or keep them in whatever condition you're trying to keep them in will in part make a difference in terms of the type of potato you choose. Now, I'm going to show you from the paper catalog from Prairie Farm exactly what I'm talking about. And this is all available on the Prairie website as well. But I want to show you because I love looking at, I don't know, I like to have things in my hand like this. I love looking at the hard copy of information here. But if I take a look inside, what I see is that there are the various organic seed potatoes that you can buy from Prairie Family Farm. And with each one of these varieties, there is a really nice chart off to the right-hand side that tells you a lot of information. Whether this is an early, mid, or late potato in terms of maturity, the overall size of the plant, that's important. You know, color of skin, color of flesh, well, that really depends. I don't know how important that is to you. We love to experiment and try different varieties, but for us, you know, maybe that's not the most important thing. The pieces that typically people want to focus in on, though, are things like the tuber set and the yield. meaning whether or not we're going to get a smaller crop, a heavier crop. If you're somebody that doesn't have a ton of space for potatoes and you really just need to bring on the production, then you want one of those heavier yielding potatoes. But next in line is that column for dormancy. And so for me, I'm thinking this is something that is going to really determine whether or not I grow a particular potato if I don't have the ability to store, as I said, maybe a root cellar or something like that. If I don't have optimal conditions, then I'm going to be looking at that dormancy period. You can see these dark red Norland potatoes, and I know red potatoes are super popular. They only have a medium dormancy. Now, you see this potato right here? This is one of those red potatoes, and it is the one that is farthest along in terms of chitting. So that medium dormancy may only be a period of a couple of weeks or so more, but a couple of weeks when you're trying to store something, a month or so when you're trying to store something longer term, that's a pretty long time. And if I turn over just a couple of pages to another variety that was one of our favorite varieties, maybe even, I mean, it's right up there. I love the taste, I love the flavor. I just thought how it grew, how it produced was phenomenal. The Sharpomiras, looks like Sarpomira, but the Sharpomiras, if you look at their dormancy period, it is a long dormancy period. And that is the potato that has the least amount of chitting. And again, this is without our taking any special care of these particular potatoes. You can see that bearing out. So what I'm trying to say here is, if I'm buying a seed potato, regardless of what it is, I've got to pay attention to that dormancy period. Knowing that different varieties have different dormancy periods makes a difference depending on how quickly I can eat, how many potatoes I'm going to grow, and how I'm going to be able to store them. Now, of course, there are other pieces here, other columns in this potato chart, if you will, where we look at the blight tolerance, scab resistance, etc. And for us, we've dealt with potato scab quite a bit. So the Sharpomiras have a moderate potato scab resistance, and we didn't see much on it this season. So if we struggle with potato scab, we go back a couple of pages and maybe we look at a variety like the Caribou Russet, which are supposed to have a high scab resistance. Charts like this kind of information, in my opinion, is quite frankly invaluable when it comes to growing potatoes. We love growing potatoes here, and so if we can find a resource like this, I mean, that's just top of the line in my mind. And I really don't want you to neglect these various facets of growing potatoes, because a little preparation ahead of time can make a big difference in terms of your yield, in terms of the right fit for where you are, both planting, growing, and harvesting. And I'll say something else too, and this is one of the things that we really loved when it came to Wood Prairie Family Farm. What happens if you buy seed potatoes from the local greenhouse? I mean, it's not that you're necessarily going to have a bad time with that, but they sell out so quickly. You've got to be spot on within a week or two of when they come in, sometimes even less time, depending on where you live. You've got to get in there and grab those seed potatoes. But with Wood Prairie Family Farm, I can order those potatoes now, my seed potatoes, and get them shipped when the approximate planting date is for my grow zone. They have that calendar. I actually have a calendar on the website that lets you pick the approximate date, or you can pick whatever date you want. But I think that's fantastic. So that's one thing I can cross off my list. I can go ahead and get the potatoes, the seed potatoes that I need, have that in the back of my mind, knowing that they're going to be coming in, and I don't have to worry about them necessarily being out of stock and going and fighting other people, well, racing other people to get a hold of the seed potatoes I want. Now, I've talked a little bit about Wood Prairie Family Farm. I want to say that one more time. We are an affiliate now, and we've had some fantastic experience with them growing their seed potatoes. And according to their literature here, a 3-year study by scientists at North Dakota State University proved that they grow the best organic seed potatoes in the U.S. And that makes perfect sense to me. This is a family-run farm. And again, we're happy to work with them, and really happy to be able to offer anybody who wants to get a hold of some of those really high-quality organic seed potatoes a 5% discount on your order. To me, that's a fantastic deal. Are these going to be the least expensive seed potatoes you ever buy? No, no, no. But they're going to be high quality, organic, and again, great performers. We've had nothing but success here. I should also mention that there's a lot more in this catalog, a lot more on the website too, a lot of different seeds, seed varieties, etc. So there's a whole bunch to check out. I don't want to spend too much time on that though. What I really wanted to focus in on today is making sure you're picking the right seed potato varieties for you. So feel free to go onto their website. I'll put a link in the description. You can follow that link. Again, use code Guten at checkout if you decide that you want to see a variety there that you're really interested in buying, and get 5% off. Why not? Take care of it now so that they're ready to go in the ground when the time comes for planting. And here in Zone 5, believe it or not, it's only a couple of months away. It's hard to believe. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video and found it informative. To be honest, to me, this is the kind of video, this is the kind of information I would have loved to have had a couple of years ago, starting out growing potatoes for the first time. This is so valuable because a lot of times we look at what's available, we just plant it, we hope for the best, but there are other pieces to consider for sure. Hey, if you did enjoy today's video, if you're excited to get some good seed potatoes, if you're excited for the upcoming potato growing season, oh, you know what? They also have sweet potato slips, I noticed. Beauregard sweet potato slips, one of our favorite varieties that we've grown here. They have a couple of different varieties of sweet potato slips. So if you're excited for the upcoming potato and sweet potato seasons, check out their resources online. Again, we'll leave the link in the description. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.